What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And today is a gentleman that I've chased around the world for the last 5 months, trying to get him on the show, but he's in different time zones and different universes. So I was happy to track him down. So we've got Indra Rinzler. Hello, Indra.
Hi, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to have some fun. You are going to explain a lot of great stuff to us. Um, I don't have a lot of questions, but I know you're going to have a lot of answers.
Are
So
you
I'm
in
going to,
my mind? Do you know me well enough to be in my mind? I'll come up with some answers. I don't even need questions to have
in
answers.
a heartbeat. No, I've gone down your rabbit hole. Hey, that's not weird. All right.
I
Okay. I'm
understand.
going to read your introduction real quick and then we'll go and play. So,
Okay.
everybody, we have uh, Indra Rinzler for 50 years. Indra has been involved in spirituality and Vedic astrology. He has been studying and sharing Enneagram of personality since 1999. He uses these modalities in life readings designed to help clients wake up to who they really are. Indra is an enthusiastic, genuinely interesting, a man who has been a round the world traveler for over 20 years, offering sessions and classes in the United States and Asia. His stories and experiences will delight all audiences. So I'm excited to have you here, buddy. So thank you for being here.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So because I'm contractually obligated by myself to ask the what if you could question, because we're the what if you could podcast.
Okay.
Um, Indra, do you have a what if you could for us? You have a what if you could thought, a what if you could moment, or something you'd like to share with the gang before we kick off?
Well, I'm not really sure what that means, but let's just put that aside for now. Um, so I had to come up with this. I would say that a big moment was 25 years ago, as you mentioned, when I started traveling the world. Um, I found a teacher, my teacher, and who was going to teach me Enneagram and astrology together. It was a very big moment for me. I don't need to go into the specifics of it, but it was a big moment for me. And he was living in Hawaii, and I remember this was a time when I was separating from my wife. That we had the kids. The kids were kind of grown, and it was a time of separation, 1999. And so I talked to this guy who was living in Hawaii, and I said, I'd like to come study with you. And he said, fine, come. And I had the situation that 6 months before, if you'd have said, I'd like to go to Hawaii and I'd like to go to India, I would have said, well, let me put it this way. I would have said to myself, that's what I'd like to do, but I couldn't. But 6 months later, when I ran into this fellow, and I said, I'd like to come teach with you in Hawaii. He was living at the time, he was living a mile away from somebody that I knew that I could stay with. And I said, I'd like to come visit you, and then I'm going to go to Hawaii. And so 6 months later, the doors opened to what I wanted to do that I sort of wouldn't allow, that now the universe had said, you can do it. And I said, okay. So
That's awesome.
that's a big moment that came.
1999 was such a trip too, because the Y2K, the world was going to come to an end, everything was going to stop, nuclear bombs were going to be shot off because they couldn't control them. That whole Y2K thing was such a trip. And 1999, was a real real weird energy, right? I mean, in the world. So for that to happen to you at that time was really cool. I mean, there was such a shift, right, going on at that point.
Well, certainly a shift for me. I ended up spending the millennium at Bodh Gaya. Do you know what Bodh Gaya is? Bodh Gaya is the place where the tree that Buddha found enlightenment is. That the temple where Buddha, he was under a tree and he became enlightened.
Mm.
That is at a place called Bodh Gaya. And I was at this temple the night of the millennium, and it was a fabulous time because I was only in the town for about 3 days, 3 or 4 days. I had had my passport stolen on the train, so I had no identity at the millennium. And we sat, and it was a little cold. It was kind of cold, and it was foggy. It gets foggy in the valley and in the plains in India, like it does in the Sacramento Valley in the winter. And they had fireworks, which created an incredible amount of smoke. And we went into the new year with 2 or 3 thousand people in this 2,500-year-old. They've been coming more than 2,000 years to the place. It's not the place, but because they've been coming more than 2,000 years, um, it has incredible vibration. So I was there at the Millennium meditating, and I went back. It was an incredible experience. I went back. My current wife and I, we went for a month in around 2014, and it was wonderful to be there. It's really an amazing place. And in fact, I'm thinking about going again, possibly in the fall for a month.
Well, how on earth did you end up not going to Hawaii because you didn't think you could, to ending up in Hawaii because the universe placed you there, to a short time after that, I would imagine, that you ended up in India under the tree where Buddha found his enlightenment. We kind of missed a step there, bud.
Okay. I'm not sure that you missed this
Because
step, but
this is all 1999. So you're like, I want to go to Hawaii, but I can't.
okay.
6 months later, you're in Hawaii.
So
Now you're in India.
So there was the thought of going to where do I want to go? Because we were splitting up and things were new and changing. And I ended up going and studying with this fellow for 2 weeks in India in Hawaii. And then I had realized that from Hawaii, then I felt open to then going to India. And I ended up being in India for 4 or 5 months that year. And I went to Rishikesh, which is where I had felt to go. I had that's where the Beatles went, if people don't know. And I felt a calling to go there. I had already been to India before in 1986. And I got the inward message, one of the strongest inward messages I'd ever gotten, and that was to go to Rishikesh and be and not do. And still today, I use that with people that I meet there because I do, astrology readings there, and I meet people in a counseling way, and I say you need to be and not do. I pass that information on. And at the end of my time in Rishikesh, I had a friend who's still a good friend of mine. Had the time I met him in Rishikesh again this past winter, where you were chasing me around the world. Um, anyways, we were going to go to to meet the Dalai Lama, and we had heard that he was in Bodh Gaya, but when we got there, he had already left. He had changed his plans, which was okay because when the Dalai Lama is there, there's like 250,000 people. So maybe we had 25,000 people instead of 250 people or whatever. It was okay. That's my relationship with the Dalai Lama. He either leaves town or uh, or arrives in town after I leave. It's kind of a thing between us
That's why people think you're the Dalai Lama because they never see you guys in the
at
same
the
place
same
at the same
place. Yeah.
time. So it could be. So tell me, for those of us who don't know, and I'm fascinated with astrology and astronomy, so I thought I would know this, but can you explain to us Enneagram? What
Enneagram.
is, yeah, what is Enneagram?
Okay, so the Enneagram isn't really astrology. I want to I just want to make sure that you're uh, the connection to astrology. Maybe you say you understand astrology, but you don't understand Enneagram. Okay.
No, yeah, that's why I want to know what it is.
Okay, so
What is, yeah.
The Enneagram is a teaching about 60 years old, and the teaching is Enneagram, the term Enneagram means nine-sided figure, and it's actually a combination of three geometric shapes that create a figure that has 9 points. And throughout history, the Enneagram being about 100 years old, Gurdjieff, have you know Gurdjieff? Doesn't matter. He's the one that brought it to us about 100 years ago. He never told us whether he made it up or whether he got it from somewhere, and it became the Enneagram of personality because personalities are put at the points. And it became it on the simplest of levels, it's a personality typing system that there are nine personalities and only nine personalities, and one of us, each one of us has one of them at our core. And you and me both seem like we're. I know I'm the seven, the enthusiast. You seem like my cousin. We got the same brother. We got the same joke. So you might be an enthusiast seven too. And it's become because but it's an incredible psychological tool. But psychology doesn't have any end game other than observing behavior.
Wait, wait,
And
wait, wait. Did you say you said astrology doesn't have any end game? Is that what you?
Enneagram.
Enneagram doesn't have any. Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Psychology doesn't have any end game.
Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, other than observing behavior.
Hmm.
Okay. And but the Enneagram is an incredible psychological a spiritual tool because it helps us to live in the moment. It gives us the goal, it gives us the clear core triggers. That's what's in the story is the core triggers. And when we get the core triggers, then we get the ability to be able to let them go so we can live in the moment. And it doesn't have any bias because it doesn't care what our story is.
I mean, yeah, we get wrapped in our story, and that takes us down to places that just aren't genuine to who we really are, and we love to keep that story going because it protects us from whatever we're afraid of. But so when you do astrology readings, so you do astrology work with people,
Yes.
and you do the Enneagram personality reading. So what's the difference when you're doing a reading for someone? I mean, do you select? I mean, do people come and say, "Hey, I want you to do my astrological chart," or do people walk up and go, "Hey, I want you to do my Enneagram personality reading"? I mean, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is it's two perspectives of the same thing, and the decision is based on how deep do you want to go?
Mm.
Because once you understand the core triggers, that it creates an incredible opportunity to go deeper with the astrology chart. And I like to think of the difference between them is that I like to think of astrology as the track coach. They're looking at elbows and knees. It's a 100 meter. This came through the Olympics. It's a 100 meter dash, and the track coach is all elbows and knees because you're dealing with parts of a tenth of a second. Okay, the any so the astrology is Mars is this and Jupiter is this and Saturn is this and Pluto and Sun, and it's all elbows and knees. But the Enneagram is like the fan in the stands watching the whole race. It's a larger view that as an enthusiast, if you are, and I'm talking about me, but maybe I'm talking about you as an enthusiast, and you may not be, that we look for greener pastures. That's our strategy, is that if some is good, then more is better. And so we're
I
in.
like it already. I already like
Yes,
it a lot.
well, that's because you don't know it yet. The idea here is that it looks like we're running toward, but we're actually running away from our feelings.
Yeah.
And the astrology it's fine that it gives you specifics, but it doesn't kind of step back and look at you in a holistic way. It's more temporal, that this is happening now, and the planet this is that, and this is this, and this is this. It's a different modality, you know. It's like I don't know. What comes to me in the moment is you're balancing your, you're talking with your wife about what you can afford and what she's gonna buy, da 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 da. Very very localized, and then having a banker, sitting with a banker or your finance person, and having a total discussion about your retirement and your housing strategies and all of what you can afford. It's both money, but it's on a completely different level of like with your wife, you're talking about what you want to buy for your kid for their birthday or Christmas or something. It's very localized, and then there's a bigger point of view. It's the same discussion of us, astrology and Enneagram, but it's looking from completely different places.
Do people take astrology too literally? Like, oh, I'm an Aries, so I'm like this, and I got my
Oh,
Virgo rising, and I got this moon and that planet, and I've got all this and that, so I'm like this. I mean, do people take that too literally, or is that
well,
the real
there's a
deal?
lot of misunderstandings with astrology. I can't say whether it's too literal or not, but there's a tremendous amount of misunderstandings. It's an impulse. It's not a who we are. The greatest astrology I mean, meme ever is the planets incline, they don't compel. Could be 2,000 years old, this meme.
Hmm.
That the planets incline but do not compel. And so yes, we get stuck in a box, that astrology puts us in a box. Most of astrology has is disempowering. I spent a long time. I started with
Disempowering.
astrology more than 50 years ago to try
Yeah,
to empower people, not to disempower them. And the
yeah.
disempowering is that, yeah, you're a Leo, you're a Pisces, you're stuck. This is a square, Pluto is square. You're stuck in life. It's not the I don't. It's not the way I think about it. It's not the way I teach it and share it.
Well, you've been quite the wanderer. But way back in the day, you were a minister.
Well, I was when I was living. I lived 20 years in a spiritual community here in California, and I was more home grounded, and was doing business, and was pretty good at that. That was my life's work,
Mhm.
and it was very natural to me. And and then things changed, and what happened is that I went to Hawaii and I went to India because I could.
So, but you were, and you traveled a lot for your business. I mean, you had been to a lot of places. Um, what what was the call to India when you'd already seen a lot of places? There's a lot of places in the world, a lot of spiritual places too. What was the call to India?
Well, the call to India was was something that I can't put any words on. I remember when I went to India in 1986, I remember it more as a remembrance than a
Mhm.
new experience. And so I can't really say why. I can tell you that I had an Indian teacher, and so India was part of my community, part of my ashram, and so it seemed very natural, uh, without even thinking about it. And I hadn't been too many places. When I went to India in '99, this story, I didn't realize it was going to be the focus. I
Mm.
guess that's how you do it, is the code, and that becomes the focus of the podcast. But this experience that I had in '99, um, that was the start, because what happened was, by the end of that trip, I met a man in southern India who was a trader. And I don't he was a trader. He traded goods.
Mhm.
Okay. And I knew about 80% of that. I had been in retail and it was something that I was really interested in. So I ended up selling his goods the first year. And then I went back to starting to travel. I was a trader for 12 years. I traveled 56 countries. I
Wow.
bought in 22 different countries. I sold goods wholesale out of my VW van, 200 stores at the top, all the way to Colorado, from California, the whole coast, Oregon, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, for 12 years until then I was really ready to get into the astrology and I stopped. I was a little tired of that kind of traveling. I was kind of old, but it wasn't so much of being old. It was more about just it was time to do other things and
Yeah.
get to this back to this real life work of this astrology.
Do you still have that VW van?
No, I was very happy the day I sold it. I was really done with it by the time it was done.
It's a collector's item now. It's probably worth a fortune. It's funny about astrology. You talk about, people have different thoughts about spirituality and religion and the universe and whether it's Taoism, Buddhism, Christianity, whatever, people get wrapped up in that pretty hard, as far as taking sides on, what's legit, what's not, and things like that. And kind of astrology's kind of taken a little beating, over the years, um, as far as beliefs and things like that in it. But I mean, the planets are there, right? I mean, the planets are there. Astrology's been around for how many thousands of years, right? Why do you think it's not as accepted as some other philosophies or whatever?
Uh, well, this is a very interesting topic. I consider astrology it's the mother of all sciences. That they looked up at the stars, the ancients, and they said, "Oh, light to day, light to night, light to dark to light. We'll call that a day." The first science. So I think it's because it's too powerful. I think that if it wasn't powerful, I don't think it would be such a problem. But you could get killed for astrology in the lower ages, the Middle Ages, and earlier. I mean, Copernicus didn't say that the big secret was that the Earth orbits the sun rather than the sun orbiting the earth. This was the big go-to for
Mhm.
thousands of years, and Copernicus knew it from his Arab teachers, and he wrote a book about it, but he didn't publish the book until he was on his deathbed because he knew he'd get killed for this teaching. And 100 years later, it took 100 years for Galileo, who was a pretty popular guy,
Yeah.
100 years later, that he was only imprisoned in his home, house arrest, not killed for the same teaching. Now we're around 1570, maybe. I think is the I might have the century wrong. 1570, around then. That's where we were at. And I think that it's only because it's so powerful, because the whole thing was that the stars have your destiny and man has no destiny because it's in the stars, which is a I believe a misunderstanding that I read in a book, and I kind of agree with this. I mean, I should say that I can believe this. I don't know if it's true, but I can believe this. I read in a book that it said that at the moment of birth, the moment of death is fixed,
Wow.
but how you get there is completely up to you.
Mm.
And
I love that.
so the fact is, I can make a bad joke here that anybody that's been married know that we don't have complete free will, a bad joke here.
Amen.
But the
Amen to
idea here is
that.
that there are things that we have free will with, and there are things that we don't have free will for. A normal human kind of has to eat and drink. We don't have free will about that. Now, an enlightened person, there are Indian teachers who tell the story about not eating for 25 years. I met a guy in '99. No, actually, it was 2000, but it was the same trip in southern India. When I went down there, I met a guy who hadn't cut his nails in 25 years. They were out, like this far, and his hair was, to the floor and whatever. And he, whether he hadn't spoken or he hadn't eaten, there's all of these stories are all over India that they break the laws of seemingly the natural laws, and they can do that because they're above the natural laws.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
think also, religion, it's very simple. It's very easy to control people with religion. But it's probably not so easy to control people with astrology because it's it's not a man-made thing necessarily, right? I mean, astrology is there. It's there. There's the obviously someone came up with astrology. Someone said that planet does this, that planet does that, and the other thing. But I think astrology is a more free spirituality or modality than religion, wouldn't you say?
Well, I would say it really depends on the religion and it really depends on the astrology. But I would generally agree with you that the thing is that a lot of astrology, and the problem when we said at the beginning here that the astrology is not particularly well understood, and it's because that it's mostly man's rules, that it's not the natural rules, it's all of man's rules, and that's why it's limited, is because it's a controlled, I'm thinking of a pole that you control. You ask, you decide the question, you decide who you ask, and then you announce these generalized results. That's the kind of the way they want to
That
do
never happens
astrology.
in politics, does it?
Oh,
That would
I doubt
never
it.
happen.
No, I don't think it could happen. No, I don't think it could happen.
Never. That would never. That would be twisting a pole. I'm shocked
And
to
no,
even
no, people would
insinuate.
never twist a pole. No, they never. But
Well,
I mean, there are religions. I mean, religion in the sense of the religion in the sense of a codified teaching has limitations of its own. But if you call spirituality a religion, if you call religions or spirituality, then they can be open ended, and you can have some people's spirituality is being in nature. Some people's spirituality and some people's religion is being in nature and communing with the nature spirits and communing with their maker in a nature environment, and that really doesn't have any rules.
yeah, yeah. When it seems that you've been fascinated with numbers forever. You're talking about just,
Yes.
way going way back. Is that why this works for you so well? I mean, is this because it's logical to someone with a mathematical brain? Like I have zero, I don't have any brain, mathematical or otherwise, but I mean, some things just fascinate me to no end, and other things I just, I just don't even get, and I just wander off. I could care less. I scroll away immediately. But numbers are a real, probably one of the few true things, right? I mean, numbers are numbers. There's no kind of way around that.
Well, the accountant can work with numbers too. So
My tax guy can. That's all I'm saying.
but yeah, I think I had a numbers were an attraction for me, and when I was young, and I think that there's a mathematical nature, a geometrical nature to mathematics, to astrology, that I think I was part of the attraction. I can't really say what it was other than that. Did I have it from a previous life? Maybe. It seemed like it was on that kind of a level. I'm not saying that's what was happening, but it was on that kind of a level. And there is a tremendous amount of mathematics in angles and degrees and number of houses, and so there is a lot of mathematics in it, in geometry. So I think that was part of the attraction to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, because on your website, holy cow, I was trying to follow the graphs and the charts, and there's so much on your website. I tried to go down that rabbit hole. I bumped into a whole bunch of walls trying to get down there, but there are a lot of charts and graphs. And are are most of those for astrology? Are most of those on there for the Enneagram? Um,
Well, I'm not exactly sure, Gary, what you're talking about, but I think that there's one for each. I have a little section on Enneagram, and it shows the Enneagram figure, and then there's a chart with the astrology, with the Vedic astrology. There might be an astrology chart just to show what that looks like. With location astrology, then there's a location, an astrocartography chart, perhaps, and then with the Wheel of Totality, there's the chart of the Wheel of Totality. Just one as an example. I mean that is the chart. Um, I think that's mostly what I have, and yeah, I kind of put a graphic with each one, and it turned out that they're mostly round or rectangular. They're geometric shapes, and I find that to be here we are. We're back to what I just said, 3 minutes ago. So, um, it's just the nature of things.
yeah. Yeah, when you're working with someone on astrology and it's kind of like it's not palm reading or reading tarot cards or anything like that. I mean, it kind of it's more of a long path, right? I mean, like when you read a tarot card, you go, At this moment in time, this is what the cards are saying, this is what things are." But I guess when you're doing the astrology and you're doing someone's reading, I mean, how deep can you go with that with people? How many layers down can you go to help people find, like you said,
Hundreds.
find their
Hundreds of
true
layers down.
person? Yeah.
Yeah, hundreds of layers down. I think that I don't what happens is that there is the placement of the planet. But what happens is we start talking, the person um radiates their story. In other words, if I say, here's a total made up example. If I see something in your chart and I say, like let's say an empty seventh house, to me means that you are susceptible to conditioning. Okay, I don't want to go into how, whatever, but let's just say no planets in the seventh house. It means that you are susceptible conditioning. So I say to you, you know that your parents, that's both family conditioning and society conditioning, that you're susceptible to believing that conditioning. And so the client is sitting there thinking, oh, my mother did this and my father was this and my grandmother was this, and so they radiate that to me. Okay, and so I believe it's from them. I don't believe that it could be channeling, but I don't see it as channeling from something higher. I see it from the person, and as they go deeper into their own, as things come up in their own thinking, I can feel it. And so that's when the layers come. And it's because the vulnerability is based on how deep the other person is going. In other words, if the other person says, I don't want to look at that, Indra, it's probably true, but I'm not listening to you, then I don't get anything. And I say, oh, okay, that's, like you are susceptible conditioning, end of story. But if they go, oh my God, I remember recently in India. It's recent for me. One of the last ones there. I remember saying to her, and I've been saying this more recently, and I don't come from this place, but I just felt like, I said to her, did you have an abuse story? And one person said, sometimes people say yes. I mean, I go right to it. And she said, well, I've been told that. She didn't have any remembrance, but she'd been told that. And I just got the feeling that the feeling was that there was something much deeper than right here, right now, that was blocking her energy. And it didn't feel like it felt like that you get I guess the reality of it is, now that I think about it, is that you meet enough of people that have abuse stories, because it's unfortunately rather common, that you can feel the blocks in them. I said to somebody, I did a fair this weekend, and I said to somebody who said that had abuse, and I said, well, I said to her, I said, that's really a hard story to get rid of. And the reason is that people have they're always the victim, and they're always present for them. And the few people that I've seen get past that have to, I was thinking later, they have to accept it at a really deep level. And the deep level is that I'm a victim, but I don't have victim consciousness. And that
Yeah.
you have to release into that so deep that it isn't part of your story anymore. And I know I'm not even sure what I'm going to get back to, but I'm going to get back to the point. So the point is that when you know, I said this to some people, and they say, because I just feel them not able to be present. And the reason they're not able to be present isn't that they haven't learned, and it isn't that they haven't experienced, and it's not that they're not intelligent, and it's not that they're not trying, but it becomes something that I can kind of feel from them is a kind of a block, you know, kind of a locked door, kind of a I don't want to go there kind of an energy that I'm calling an abuse story. And who knows what kind of abuse it could be. It's not a it's not painting a particular one story, but there seems to be something in here that's blocking your energy that is beyond your understanding, and you're still a little kid. I get this feeling from people. I call it woman child, man child, that you're, you know, fully formed, you know, attractive, everything's working woman, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s, but there's still this little kid. You know, I say a woman because I mean the clients are more women than men.
Yeah.
But it could be the same thing with a man, that there's a little bit of a childishness in there, and that's the old story, as you referred to correctly. That's that old story that's sitting in there, and that's the work we're working on. Is to is to is to acknowledge the story, understand the story, and then release the story, so you can be totally present in the moment.
Yeah, you were an abused person, but you no longer are an abused person. And, trying to work your way through that because there are some things that just take you deep, Andrew. You know that, better than me, where just people cannot escape that, Um, you see people who lost a child earlier or whatever, or physical abuse, emotional abuse like that, and it just sticks with them forever. It's like that's their consciousness. It's really a sad, challenging thing. It kind of sounds like your astrology readings are more than just doing someone's chart. It seems like
Yeah.
you're picking up their energy and doing a deeper reading than that. And I guess that's how you say you help clients wake up to who they really are. You're not just giving them all right, you're a Leo with moon rising and
No,
all
no,
this crap.
I don't really do any of that. And that's why it took 40 years with astrology to get to where I was ready to do my own thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I may be a late bloomer, and that's okay. Uh, my other could, which I had thought of first, was that my first book is getting very close, and we're in editing. We're in editing now. We're close. The book is more than half edited, and it's kind of been, you know, generally designed. It's pretty close. We're working on the final editings and final edits, and it's going to be a few more months. But it's not that I never thought it could happen. I always thought it could happen, but there is a level of belief, um, timing,
Yeah.
belief in our timing, belief in our manifest destiny, getting rid of the barriers, which I think is what your could is about, is getting rid of the barriers. There were barriers. There weren't really any barriers other than my own. But there were barriers, and I'm not sure that I've gotten rid of all of them, but man, it's been a you could write a book about writing a book.
Well, you expose yourself quite a bit when you write a book. I mean, I think so many people have wanted to write a book or thought about it. And I've talked to, hundreds of people, and, so many of them like, I want to write a book about my story, about my tale, or whatever like that. But there's this deep judgment about writing a book. You put your heart and soul into something, you put it out there, and it gets rejected. It's like, oh, man, that hurt. So what without giving too much away, because I want everyone to buy the book. So, without giving too much away, is the book about your travels? Is it about your work? Is it about your astrology? What's the basis of the book without going out too much?
Well, the book is all of that. It's not really my story, but it is my story, and it's a book of themes, which you might call short stories, but it's their themes, and 600 to 1,000 words approximately, maybe a few more than 1,000 words. 78 of them, and they in totality they encompass the spiritual path, and it's basically all the lessons that I've learned. Well, not all the lessons, but
Some are
it's a
not fit for print, okay?
yeah, it's a compilation. In essence, it's a compilation of a hell of a lot of lessons that I've learned, and there are references in some of the themes that the clients frequently, or that a client last week, or that one of them was the oh the just a second, the I can't think of the phrase, but that's basically what the book's about. The totality of it is on this. I do things in many levels. I've always done things in many levels. Even when I was a book publisher, my books, when I was a book publisher, children's book publisher, they also had many levels. And so, on the simplest of levels, it's a nice story, and it's maybe my story, and it's good information. And then the people are going to find out, wow, I'm changing. I had one of my editors wrote me and said that how did she say this, that you get a lot of good feedback right here right now for a particular problem, but then you also give long-term solutions, and she said that's pretty rare, she said, to be
Yeah.
able to give right now solutions and also long-term solutions, all within 1,200 words, for each section, for each theme, of which there's 78 of them. Um, that's She seemed to think that that was pretty unusual. So I'm really excited about the book, and I'm excited to have it done, and I'm excited to have it out, and I'm excited to have it available for people. I'm excited to hear what I have to say and to read what I have to say, because it was originally written so long ago that it's more of a remembrance than it is a I'm not at that place anymore, but those things are still true for me. It's like it's like reading your college notes from your college classes,
It's like
it's
going back and reading
handwriting.
reading some of your old journals. You
Yeah, your
don't
old
you
journals,
read back,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
go, I'm not even that person anymore. I don't even
Yeah.
remember writing that shit down. That's things
Well,
like
the thing is I did write it down, and the thing is that I had clarity there that I don't have. I don't have. I have more clarity, but I don't have that specific clarity. So it's really a blending. But you talk about the what are people going to say? I worked through that, and I would say that I hadn't worked through it for a long time, and then the book wasn't there yet. But I would say now at that point, I don't really care I care what people think, but on the other hand, I mean, in the sense, I'd like to hear how people respond to it, but on the other hand, if they don't get it, meaning buy it or understand it, that's okay too. That it's not it's like and this is part of the codes, is that I can do whatever I want. And that's why I suggested to you that the more that another question could be, what happens if you can't? Not what happens if you could, but what if you can? But the thing is that I work through the feeling of limitations and the feeling of needing to be seen, and it only came when all of that disappeared.
Yeah. It just gave you the opening to go ahead and move forward and put it down on paper and say, I don't give a shit what you guys think. This is my work. I'm going to put it out there. I obviously hope you all enjoy it. That's why I'm doing it. But also you do it for yourself. You put down what you want to do for yourself. But which makes me think of something else you said. You said live inwardly. Live inwardly. What does that mean to you, live inwardly?
Okay, you stalled up there for a second. What I wanted to say, one of the reasons I wanted to write the book was so that I could read it in my next life and not have to start over. How about that?
I love it. I love it.
Live inwardly. Okay, so I don't remember saying that, but that doesn't matter. It's something I could say. I would say what that means is, I think that means is that is to live from the inner consciousness, is to live from the feeling satisfied inside, is to live in your heart, is to live in your pleasing yourself, and to get out of the security of the outer world. That's not a very good formula right now. I'll give you a hint. That formula isn't going to really work right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at gold going up $100 a day, that formula is not really going to work right now. Okay. So
There's a lot of
so
things.
so
There's a
what
lot
you're
of things
left
that
with,
aren't working real well right now.
yeah, so what you're left with is learning to live inwardly, is to be happy with what you do, and to be happy with what you don't do, and to be happy with what you have, and to be happy with what you don't have, and to be happy with what you can, and to be happy with what you can't. And the only way you do that is to clean up the inner house. You got to do the spring cleaning, otherwise it's not going to be there. It's always going to be that the outer world is causing this, and the outer world is that, and the outer world is this, and such and such, such and such.
Yeah. You've been gracious with your time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just had a couple more thoughts on your travel. You said through your travel, and you did a lot of it, you said, you realize that we're just not all that different, in all these different
Yeah.
countries you've been to, all these different people that we're all not that different. I mean, but over time with all the traveling you've done, even before you went into this in 1999 and things like that, and now you're doing the readings and you're really digging into people. Have people changed a lot in the last 20 years, 30 years? Have you seen people just changing? Things are just different than it was when you started out doing this?
Well, I started out 50 years ago, and definitely things are different. Well, I mean, the arguer in me says that we aren't really that different, but the fact is, it's a different time. And I would say that the it's the outer world that is the changing. This isn't to say that the inner world, that we're not changing on the inside too, but we've always been what we are. And I think that there is more clarity now. There's more spirituality all over the world. We talk about, like I say, I go to Rishikesh in India, and they call it the yoga capital of the world. And I have a friend. Uh, who's a teacher there, and his father told me that he had 87 students for the month, and they were from 43 different countries.
Wow.
And I thought, how can you have 40 and 87 people have 43 different, and I mean, unless you're planning. I mean, that's
Wow.
rather amazing, but that's kind of where it's gotten to is that we see people from coming to India, coming to Rishikesh from everywhere in the world. And that obviously wasn't true 20 years ago, but I
What do
don't know that
people seek and why are they going there? What are people
people are going
seeking?
there to find themselves. They're going there to learn yoga. They're going there to explore themselves. They're going there to have a out of box experience that from here there makes no sense, and from there here makes no sense. They're there to why do they take ayahuasca? Why did we take LSD? Why do we go to why do we do travels? Why do we go to new places? Why do we read different books and take all these classes in college? It's to learn, to experience, to deepen, to expand. That's why they do it, and it's a mass. It's really amazing how much of a mass consciousness there is that people get the word. They don't get it, maybe they get it, they read a post on Facebook maybe, but it's like underneath people are talking about things and spreading things even though they're not actually doing or spreading anything, that it becomes. I mean, look about how, let's just say, Beatles on Ed Sullivan, Woodstock. I was actually at Dylan Went Electric at Newport in '65. I was actually there.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
and didn't know it was a big deal at the time.
Nobody did. I'm
Well, they
great.
they they say there were boos. I was there. I didn't hear the boos, but I didn't know. But these events have I mean, how much of an effect Dylan Goes Electric, positive or negative, it's not about Dylan, but I mean how much effect that has on I see somebody in Rishikesh with a guitar. Why is he playing the guitar? Well, if you take it back, he saw, he listened to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. He listens to whoever, Jimi Hendrix, whatever. It's all 60s people, but whatever it is, it's all cumulative, and we teach each other, and we get these opportunities and this depth and these experiences wordlessly sometimes from everybody's experience and all the waves. You think of a rock, you throw a big rock into a lake and all the ripples that happen, and the motorboat in a lake or a river and all the ripples that happen there, and then you think of these cultural events that I'm talking about music and all the ripples from there, and all the ripples from higher tariffs, and all the ripples from I don't know what, anything really, that's happening right now. Many things that are, not anything, but many things that are happening right now, the ripples from that, and they happen wordlessly. So I think that yes, when I started in 1970 and I came to California, not for the first time, but for the first time to live, and we had natural food stores, which I didn't see in the Midwest, and organic foods, which were just starting. This was a tremendous ripple, and I watched how the term natural became mainstream and becomes meaningless because it
We
is
have natural potato chips.
natural potato chips. Yeah,
Right,
naturally
Joe?
produced native chips. I just saw a Facebook post around. I think it's about eggs, and it's a picture of what free range looks like, which doesn't look very free, and pasture and organic, which didn't look very organic. I mean, these terms that are used I think it was the point about eggs that you can't. And I asked my wife, if we buy fish, what should I, what is it called? Ocean fed and farm produced. I mean, there's a lot of crappiness to the meanings of these words that only the women can hold the total understandings of these.
Yeah, it's pretty
Things.
disgusting
I
what
don't think
they've
I have
done with our
all the
food.
understandings of these terms.
Actually, it's pretty disgusting what they've done
It
with our food.
is absolutely.
Yeah, fat free,
Yeah,
gluten
yeah,
free, sugar free. It's like,
yeah,
don't, no, that's just
yeah.
all bad. If it comes in its own natural packaging, eat it. If it doesn't, don't eat it. It's
Yeah,
basically,
really.
and stay on
That's
the
probably
outside of that.
the better way, but we all have to learn that on our own, and we don't, and we may read a book, but we get that from the air. We get that somehow from existence. Somehow it's like you're in that for 20 years, and then all of a sudden one day things change and you understand it in a way that you never understood it before.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
true.
saying maybe not you, but I'm saying there are people that
Yeah,
you have this all the time and you didn't really realize it, and then oh, I see it now in a totally different way. And so yes, times have changed, and yes, people are different, but also we've always had crazy times, and people are the same.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can go back as far as you want. And there's just always been from the minute, however we got here, things have been crazy. And there's always been people at each other's throats. There's always been manipulation. There's always been craziness. I mean, from the time we all however we got here, it's been like that, and it's just different exposure now. We have so much exposure to all the madness that I think it just seems compounded. But you can go back thousands of years and go, yeah, they were doing that crazy shit back then. It's
Absolutely.
just so compounded because it's so in our face with all the media and stuff. So,
It
so
reminds me of one time when that famous podcaster, a famous podcaster named Gary, quoted that famous phrase, "Live inwardly."
Well, I was quoting a famous man. I don't remember who it was, but it was a long time ago, and he looked like Methuselah. I don't even remember how we got there, but so what's next for Indra? What's we've got a book coming up. You're going back to India. What is next for you, sir? What are you gonna do? What do you want to do? What's coming up?
I do remember this. Well, what's next is the book. What's next is astrologically. I'll let the bird out of the. I'll give you the I'll give you the inside dope is that there's a astrologically there's a 19-year cycle of Saturn, and that ended for me 2.5 weeks ago, and I am now in 17 years of Mercury, and it's time to communicate. It's time to share. And so the book is coming out. I'm going to go to England in the late summer and do a talk. I'm going to go for an hour. I'm going to England to give an hour talk on astrology,
Nice.
and
Why not?
because I'm supposed to do it,
Right?
so
That's
I'm doing
awesome.
it, and so that's, I think it's all from the book and the other books
Mhm.
that
So
are
this 19-year cycle, is that just for you or it's not for the whole
No,
planet? Not
everybody can have the 19-year cycle, but it depends on there's a 120-year cycle where all the nine planets that we use has a set amount of time where it's the most important in your life. Okay. And they have Mercury is 17 years, Sun is only 6 years, Mars is 7 years. Everybody has a different amount of time, but it's a set cycle and it goes in a pattern, but it depends on the placement of your moon at your birth as to where you start in that cycle. And so for me, it turned out that at my particular age, late in life, that I've now entered Saturn. Saturn, 19 years was an incredible time. It really kicked my ass, and in a really lovingly beautiful way, and I miss it dearly. Um, I miss it dearly. And I met my wife, my current wife, 3 months, who's very Saturny. I met her 3 months before Saturn period, and she's still in my life.
Have you told her she's very Saturnly? Have you?
Oh yeah, she knew that right away. She's well,
I don't
she
know what cycle I'm currently in, but I sure as shit hope it ends soon and moves on. This has been the worst. I'd have to say 15 years, 10 years for sure. I lost my wife 10 years ago. But it probably started about a year or two before that, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm in just a shit show period. I'd love it to kind of work its way through. I'm just fighting through it like a pig in muck. But yeah, if you're out there, cycle, you're welcome to leave. 'Cause I'm looking for a little help here, brother, on the other side. But Andrew, you're great. Now, I lied at the very beginning because I'm a liar. That's what I do. I'm a realtor. I'm a real estate broker. So we lie. Um, I said I only had one question, but I actually have two questions. I gave you the first "what if you could" question, but my
okay.
second question is just kind of a bullshit question. It's just kind of, if you want to leave, if there's something that is important to Indra, if you have a thought for everybody, if you have a saying that sticks with you, if there's something that you'd like to leave us with that's kind of means something to Indra, what would that last thought be?
Ugh. Well, you already gave my live inward, and so I can't say go to your heart. Wake up. How about wake up?
I like wake up. Yeah.
Wake up.
There's
You
a
know,
lot about waking up. You know,
wake up means to let go of anything that isn't serving you and to love it.
uh, there's a
Even though
lot.
if it's not serving you, you still have to love it, but let it go.
Yeah. The word wake has been kind of tarnished because people want to attach it to woke, whatever that means. But yeah, people need to wake up on a lot of different levels right now, don't you think?
Well, I don't think they have to, but I think that if they want happiness, I think that that's a better path.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it
mean, it's
sure.
their choice, you know. I mean, you can do it this time, or you can do it now, or you can wait a million lifetimes. It doesn't really matter. But um, but the opportunity is here, right now, and the encouragement is right here, right now.
You just brought something up, and I don't want to go too deep into it because I do want to let you go. But when you're working with people, are people bringing things from their other lives, from their past, into this current one, and that's why it's so embedded? It's why it's so tough to heal.
Okay, first of all, it's not me. Okay, I'm not working with them. I'm I like to say when the reading was from me, it wasn't anywhere near as good as through me.
Mm,
And this is what Saturn taught me was to let go of the idea of me. It's and I already hinted at this, the ego. As soon as if I want to do it for the ego, it's never going to happen. That book is never going to happen. But when I let go of me and doing it for me, then it can happen. Past lives. I'm not a big. I think we had past lives, but I'm not a big proponent of past lives. I'm really interested in right here, right now. If you stabbed somebody lifetimes ago and you've got some karma, okay. But what are you going to do about that right here, right now? Why carry it with you, and why? And if it's even if it is the cause, why make it the cause?
yeah,
Because we got to take responsibility and come into the heat right here, right now. And the fact 8 lifetimes ago or 8 lifetimes in the future, and it's going to be wonderful. I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna, and then I'm gonna, and then I'm
yeah,
gonna. That's not the way to happiness. It's right here, right now. And so I really encourage people to let go of all of those stories and let's just deal with what's happening and what you feel right here, right now.
yeah,
Even if those are true, which I'm certainly not saying that they aren't. I don't know how that serves us to get into. You just said we're not children. I think you said we're not children anymore. We can be childish, but we're not a child. So we're not in that lifetime anymore. We're still, it's what we just said. We're still the victim. We've got that victim consciousness, and I don't see a positive in that. So it's not something that I personally get into. I believe in reincarnation, but I don't believe in carrying these stories around forever. I believe in dropping them.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a crucial thought, and I think that's a big part of waking up. Like you tell people to wake up because you just can't keep carrying that story. You have to let that story go sometimes. At some point, whether it's painful or not, regardless of what the story is, you just have to let that story go at some point, or you're never going to leave where you are. You're going to be stuck right where you are, and that's it may be a good place, may not be a good place, but that's where you're going to be. So,
Yes, absolutely. And you have to recognize all the ripples when that story hit the pond, the big pond. You have to realize all the ripples that are happening and let go of those. And so what happens in the reading is merely bringing those out, because in bringing them out, people let them go.
yeah, yeah.
Because when if you give a person a choice, do you want to hold this shit in your hands, or do you want it just to be on the ground? I think I'll just let it be on the ground, you know?
So you're gonna have to let it go. All right. You're gonna have to just
You're
let that
gonna have
shit
to let it
go.
go. And
You
and
gotta
and
let that shit go.
yeah, and so we just in a reading, we're empowering them to realize their responses, and to help them to be able to let to release all the aspects of the story to be happy right here, right now.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it, bud. Well, I'll tell you what, everybody, we were just exposed to the amazing Indra Rinzler. And we've got some exciting stuff coming up. We're going to go to England. We're going back to India, but more so, we've got that long awaited book that's been inside him, just itching to come out. And like Zig Ziglar always said, don't die with your music still in you. And you're not
Okay.
gonna. You're gonna let that music out. And I can't wait. When it comes out, you'll have to come back on and we'll do a reading and we'll we'll go through
I'd
the
be
book
very
together.
happy to. Very
I,
happy to.
I
I
love
want to
it.
give your listeners. I got two free
Yeah.
gifts that I want
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
offer to your listeners, and they are they're a Vedic astrology chart, the Vedic Astrology of India. I'm willing to. The offer is to give you your chart. It's not a free reading. I will probably make a comment or two, but you have to. You send me you on email, indrarinzler@gmail.com. You send me your place of birth, the date of birth, and the time of birth, and I will send you your chart. And the second offer is I have an Enneagram test that will give you, for many of you, will give you your number, and for some of you, will give you, will start to hone in on what your number is. There are 9 stories. They're numbered 1 through 9. They're at our core. They're who we are. One of them is at our core, and it's a paragraph test that in 5 or 10 minutes will give you may very well give you your number. So that's also free. If you just write me indrarinsler@gmail.com, people can contact me, can find me the website indrarinsler.com, and learn about the readings. Email me if you're interested in the readings. You can read about it on the website, and if you're interested, contact me through the email. And I don't use a scheduler because the reading starts as soon as you write me.
So I just want to go over that again now. So you go to your website, and the website is what's your website?
IndraRinsler.com.
Okay, easy, easy, easy. I mean, we're going to put that on the bottom of the podcast too, but I want to send this out today. I'm going to send this out today too. And in that, or they can email at your name, gmail.com. I'll
Yeah.
put that on there too. And you want place of birth, time of birth, date of birth. Was that what the three were?
That's it.
Okay. Place of birth, time of birth, date of birth. And you can email that to you. You'll respond to them in however manner you can respond to them. You're busy. Um, or they can ask about the 9 stories.
The 9 stories, and I'll send them a
Okay.
test that they can uh 2 separate order offers. You can do one or the other.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to go.
Wait a minute. I'm getting a message from God. Wait a minute. The message is that if Gary sends me his time, date, and place of birth, then I can tell him what cycle he's in. I can tell him what planetary period he's in. Oh, thank you. Thank you, God. Oh, wow. I
I
can't
am so
believe it.
sending you my place of birth, my time and date. I actually know them all because it's a 357. Who could forget a 357? Um, awesome. I'm gonna do that. But
Okay.
so this is great. So I'm actually just gonna I'm not even gonna wait for the podcast to come out. I'm gonna post this on some social media today with
Okay.
this promo to let people know that this is available so they can go to you and find this because I think it's phenomenal. And with this, they'll probably want to come back and go deeper with you, which is obviously a good thing. But this is a little promo thing, but the rest of that from then on, you're paying, folks. But it's worth it because, having a path, like you said, I mean, you have the gift of telling people where they are now, but also helping, maybe visualize for people on the future. And like that gal said, that's quite a gift. And not everyone can do the both. So that's awesome stuff. That's awesome stuff. So, all right, everybody, you've heard about the promo. I'm going to place that on the website. I'm going to place that on the podcast. You guys will see that. I'm going to post it on some other social media and reach out to Indra Rinzler. Get to one of these readings. I got a feeling you're going to like it. And I loved this hour. I'm just so glad that I finally got you out of India long enough to come on the podcast. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Indra, thank you. I really appreciate you being here.
Blessings to you.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon, everybody. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.